Now folks, this is my uncle's first kitchen in Corbin, Kentucky, where the 11 herbs and spices were developed. From 1930 until 1940, him and his wife Josephine worked out of this kitchen. This location ran until 1955. After the highway was put in 1955, Uncle Harley's business was taken away from him. He had to sell this place at auction. A new owner took ownership of it and then promised to maintain the quality that the Sanders family held for so long. 1952, my uncle knew that the highway was going to be put in and may take away his business. He was offered a fair price for this location. He had to take less in his auction to sell it. He believed that this was going to be his nest egg. This was going to be it. So in 52, he decided to franchise. 1,009 people told him, no, we're not going to franchise your chicken. We think it's a stupid idea. But his 1,010th person that he talked to was Pete Harmon of Salt Lake City, Utah. And that's where the world's very first Kentucky Fried Chicken franchise was born. The brand was born here in Corbin, Kentucky, this location I'm standing in now. And you could visit this location. You could even visit the original franchise as well in Salt Lake City, Utah. Pete Harmon was his first yes, and on a handshake. And every single franchisee after Uncle Harley had his yes from Pete Harmon, a handshake that had a nickel for every whole chicken sold in the wheel. Pretty soon Uncle Harley was having a $1,000 a day income, and it gave him an insight to just how much 5 and 10 cent stores handle. After Uncle Harley sold out in Kentucky Fried Chicken in 1964, he went to Canada and Mississauga, purchased a home in the suburbs there, and he continued to maintain the Canadian franchises until 1972 when he gave them to charity. He kept them under his name after the sale, but he realized that it would fall into his estate when he died, and he didn't want it to. He tried to give it to some family. None of my family wanted to take it at the time. My great-grandpa Charles was actually offered it. Nobody wanted to take it, not even Uncle Jim, who we talked about earlier, who was my great-grandfather's brother, technically my great-great-uncle. So because he couldn't find any family, he couldn't find anybody who wanted to purchase the franchises off of him, he made the Colonel Harlan Sanders Foundation, donated the franchises to charity, and all proceeds went to charity and putting children through schools. He also opened a hospital in Mississauga, Canada as well, through his charitable works. These are the things, folks, that are not spread around the advertisement of Kentucky Fried Chicken, but you better be sure, whether they hire me or not, you're going to hear it spread around on this page. And I hope that you have a better appreciation for Colonel Sanders after learning about his life more than just chicken. He spent most of his life failing at things. He spent most of his life doing many different odd jobs. And when he was working on a farm, just when I think he was 7 or 10 years old, for Charlie Norris, he was making $2 a month. He had a board and room. And what happened, he was fired from that job, and his mother gave him a tongue lashing, saying, "What are you going to do? You're my oldest son. You ain't got no father, nobody else to help pay the bills. What are you going to amount to in life?" And after that, he made a resolve then that no matter what job he was trusted with, he'd be sure to prove to his mother he was worthy of that job. There was another story with Dick Miller. He talked about it on the KFC Foundation. This is why the KFC Foundation exists. The KFC Foundation exists because one day Uncle Harley was driving around with Dick Miller, his limo driver. They came across this young man walking down the road, and they picked him up and they were taking him home, and he asked where the kid was going to school at. The young man told him where he was going to school, and Uncle Harley demanded to speak to the person in charge of that school. He went into that school, and he paid a full scholarship for that student to go through school. Because of that one random act of kindness that Uncle Harley did, he didn't have to do that. The KFC Foundation was born a few years later. And because of the KFC Foundation, they put many employees that want to go to school through school, and they also help out during hardships. You could check them out too. They got a page with not too many followers. I actually have more than them, and I'd like to share some of that with them. Because along with the family history comes the charitable works that my uncle was a part of, and that were inspired by his kindness. And I really believe, again, if Kentucky Fried Chicken would advertise this stuff along with their brand, it'd make people appreciate them more and maybe try them out. Look, folks, I'm not asking you to follow me. I'm not going to beg you to follow me. But if you believe in my mission, again, the Sanders back involved in the brand again, or even just upholding the family legacy the way that I'm trying to do here for the entire family, whether people want to be involved or not, I hope that you appreciate what I'm doing, you understand what I'm doing. I hope you're proud of your own family legacies too, and that this inspires folks to be proud of their families. There's nothing wrong with upholding the legacy. What got me started on this was years ago when the KFC came out with these ads that were mocking my uncle. I didn't know much about my family history then as I do now, I wasn't as involved in it, but I saw how much it upset my grandfather to see our uncle displayed on TV as some exaggerated, perverted, sexualized joke. Now, everyone who's been here for a while knows that I'm no stranger to calling KFC out. Kentucky Fried Chicken, I'm not afraid to call out when they're in the wrong. Their advertisements were very much mocking the Colonel and his image, completely erasing. However, if you did pay attention to some of them, they did pay homage to the history of his charitable work, such as the Colonel's mandolin band with the church. Now, when Daryl Hammond was doing that ad, it was a little weird. They were talking about chicken biscuits and gravy and taters. They were not talking about the religious aspect of Uncle Harlan and why he purchased the Colonel's mandolin band. And they have even an album out now you can purchase at the JRN location of Sanders Court and Cafe, the Harlan Sanders Cafe and Museum in Corbin, Kentucky, where it all began. Every single commercial that they did post, the marketers did put hints to the Colonel's life and his accomplishments and his charitable works. But they perverted it in a way. They twisted it and changed it. And so if you didn't know the history like I know the history, you wouldn't have appreciated those little hints. You would have just seen that and made fun of it. But knowing what I know now, and you look back at those ads, you could actually see they were trying. So I got to sit down at this very location I'm standing in now to talk with Kentucky Fried Chicken about their ads. It took 8 years to get their attention for them to listen to me. They invited my family out, we sat down, we had a chat. They never intended to erase Uncle Harley's name and image from society. They never intended to turn him into just a mascot. It's what happened because that's what our society does. That's what my generation has done. They saw that stuff, thought he was a joke, thought he was a fake person. Heck, there are teachers at school that have told friends of mine that Colonel Sanders isn't a real man. That's another reason why I do what I do. Like I said, there's misinformation. He's a very inspirational human being. Was he perfect by any means? No, not at all. Nobody is. I'm not perfect. But he did have a lot of good qualities to him that are overlooked, and people just spread around rumors about him instead of the truth. And I want people to know what the truth is. So folks, next time you go to a Kentucky Fried Chicken, think about me, think about the story, think about the family history, think about the Colonel. And when you look at the image of the Colonel up on the wall, you think to yourself, he was more than just a mascot. He was a real man, and he has a real story.
It's so nice to be so good on me.